This is an answer to a question on YouTube where someone asked how to have one parameter depend on two other parameters. So I've shown multiple times in various tutorials that you can have one parameter depend on another one. So you can simply do copy param. Let's say in this case, we're going to copy the X transform on this to the Y transform of the sphere. So now if I move this, the rhinoceros, the sphere is going to move in Y. So we simply copied the expression that refers to the other parameter. But now how do we have that? How could we have a parameter be depending on two other parameters? And so in that case, for the demonstration, we're going to use the angle of that light. And we're going to find a way so that the light always encompasses those two objects. So first, let's link the angle of the light to the X transform of that rhinoceros. So I'm going to do the same thing, copy param. And if I go out, I go to the light, to the spotlight. So by changing the angle here, I will change the angle of the light. And so if I can do copy past as relative like I did before, and you can see now that the angle is very small, I'm going to keep that in a separate parameter so I don't have to come back to it. And I can press left, or with key, actually not left, to go back where I was previously. And I'm going to display those two nodes like this. So now if I move the rhinoceros, you can see the angle is moving, but the angle is too small. So I'm going to edit that string. I'm simply going to add a multiplier. So if I try multiply by 2, it still is too small. So I'm going to try a bigger number. Let's say 20. And that is probably too big now. So let's find something in between by 10. And that's a little too small by 12. By 15, and that is a bit better. So it's not going to be exact because the math needs to be more than just a multiplier to make it so that it is always in the angle of the light, but that will do for that demonstration. And so now the angle depends on the movement of the rhinoceros, but it does not depend on the movement of the sphere. So one way to do that is to again do copy parameter, param. And here, if I was to copy it past as relative, it overrides the value we had before. And so now the angle only depends on the sphere and not on the rhinoceros. So I'm going to do undo. And instead of passing the parameter here, I'm going to pass it in a parameter next to it, past as relative. So now I have the two values next to it. And I don't want to keep it here, so I'm just going to select Ctrl C and then press Ctrl left click to get rid of it, or I could have pressed undo as well, but now I have the string in my buffer, and I can do a plus. That's not going to be the final answer, but for now, if we have that, we can see that the radius changes when we move the sphere. So now this is just a string, so let's modify it as we need. I'm going to make that a little larger. And so first thing is we don't want to have that, it goes in the other way because the position of the sphere, as I move the sphere further, the radius decreases. So instead I'm going to use ABS to have the absolute value. And in order to know what you can or cannot use here, you can have a look at this page in the docs, the expression page, which gives you a summary of all the expressions you have access to. So you have access to all the math expression that you have in JavaScript. So we have ABS at the top here, and we have cosinus, sinus, and so on. So you have many that you can use in those expressions. So let's do that. Let's use the same multiplier. Actually, I will probably put those in bracket like this. So the multiplier 15 is applied to both. And now I have this. And I actually don't want to use a plus. I instead probably want to use a max. Like this, max, and with a comma in the middle. That should do. And that does not work. Max, ABS. Oh yeah, that only works, of course, when this value is less than the value of the rhinoceros. It's not going to have any effect. Only once I push it, then yes, it does have an effect. Same thing for the Rhino. If it's just here, it does not work, and if I keep pushing, it does work. So yeah, that's how you can have one parameter depend on two others. This is just strings, and then you can apply any sort of operation that you want. Having just a plus is the easiest way, or you can go more complicated if you want.